Warning: this podcast contains minor spoilers of We Were Here. Consider yourself warned.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Mayhem, the podcast of indie game studio Total Mayhem Games. My name is Soraya, community manager over at TMG, and with me today is Thijs, one of the studio's game designers. Thijs, welcome. Could you introduce yourself to our lovely listeners?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Thijs. As Soraya said, I'm a game designer, a technical game designer, so programming and designing in one discipline. And I've been with the team for about 6 months now.
Okay, amazing. We're so happy to have you because we get a lot of questions about the puzzles. So could you tell us more about how you guys come up with a puzzle all the way to maybe even implementing the puzzles?
Ooh, well, we're not called Total Mayhem Games for nothing, right? That's a very topic, but I think it really differs per designer. Everyone has different fascinations and different movies that they watched, or games that they played, or hobbies that they practiced, and all of those tend to be the inspiration for the puzzles, right? So yeah, maybe someone saw a cool car chase in a movie and thought, huh, well, we can't have a car chase, but we can maybe have something similar. Like, what does that feel like? What do you communicate about during a car chase, and is that fun? And how can we put that in the setting and the mechanics of We Were Here? So we usually start with something like that, and then make it playable as soon as possible. And that doesn't mean immediately the way you would play it, but it can be paper. It could be there's a program we use, Tabletop Simulator, a lot to test and make things and move little cards around online, and sort of simulate the game before it exists. Um, Other times we actually sit role playing the interaction in a preferably closed room, because nobody needs to see this, and just try to find the fun and make it so that other people can play it as well, like other people inside the team. We can see if they find the same fun that we want to put into the puzzle. And then once we have that, something that has proven itself to give you fun situations to play out, um, then we start really detailing and narrowing down, like, okay, so what is the puzzle? What's difficult about it? What do we want you to figure out? Or when you enter the room, what do you see? And can you deduce what the point of the puzzle is, right?
Mhm.
Because that's a really fun difference between We Were Here and many puzzle games, right? In a typical puzzle game, the conventional wisdom is that it has to be clear what you have to do, how you have to do it, um, and then the difficulty is in how exactly you do it, what steps you need to take. But for us, if we just throw you in a room and you're like, "What is this room? What does this button do?" and something blows up,
Mhm.
you don't necessarily know what you're supposed to do yet, but figuring that out together is an adventure. Um, so that's when we really get into the detailing, right? And we involve artists and we make layouts. And over time, this can take sometimes a week, sometimes 3 weeks, 4 weeks, sometimes longer, unfortunately. We really get all the details right. Um, what is this room? What does it look like? What's in there? What's the backstory? How exactly does it work when you push this button? What happens? What happens if you push it twice? That sort of thing. Um, and yeah, that's sort of how we come to the puzzle that you would find in the released game. Right, just lots and lots of trial and error and mayhem, basically, but always in the forward direction, hopefully.
Hopefully, true, true, true.
Yeah.
So you do say that you started out on paper or even the tabletop because, yeah, me too. I've been a victim of the here you go, try this puzzle. No idea what is going on. Just please try it. How many people try out a puzzle before the release of the game?
That could be within the team. Usually, the whole team has played one puzzle at least once, just so we all know what we're working on. But we usually have multiple versions, right? Sometimes the whole puzzle changes gameplay. Like it's still a tower, the tower puzzle, but you don't do the same thing anymore. Um, so I'd say at least 50. I would say like within the team, 50 play sessions
Mhm.
per puzzle is easily.
Wow. And I can
Yeah.
imagine that it's quite nerve wracking when you see your puzzle, your little baby being played by others. Is there a lot of tweaking after all those test sessions? Are there maybe you up the level in difficulty, or do you more often just need to tone it down a bit?
It's usually a back and forth with difficulty. We usually, when you just found the puzzle, it's too easy, right? The idea is there, but it's not really a puzzle yet. It's more something that you do, and then it solves itself. So then, as designers, we just start looking at it and spending days on it, just thinking about that puzzle, and we make it way too difficult up to a point where people start complaining that it's too difficult and it takes an hour, and then we start toning it down again, like, okay, maybe this super specific thing that we found isn't really fun for anyone else. So we take that out again. But yeah, there's a lot of tweaking and discussion as well, right? Everyone has different ideas for where something could go or what could be fun, and ultimately we have to come to a sort of um, a conclusion on what we want the final game to be, right? What we think is we were here. Um, so, yeah, that's definitely a lot of changes. Some are barely recognizable from what they started as.
Aw. So your baby just evolves into a giant different thing with a very different outcome. Um,
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
keep getting the questions like, is it intentionally this hard, but also, is it intentionally this scary? What's your idea on that? Are we really trying to scare people away forever from our games?
I wouldn't say scare, right? I don't think we're the kind of game where we put jump scares and it's like, ah, there's a monster, now you have to run. Um, but I do think we make adventure games, like sort of adventure puzzle communication hybrid games, and sort of a tense atmosphere or feeling like you're in danger or feeling like you don't really know what's going on. That's definitely a part of adventure for me at least, and I think for the rest of the team as well. Um, so we don't design puzzles to be scary, but they always end up scary. Just
They've
because of what we like as well.
definitely, and I do feel indeed that the game it has its own unique atmosphere, but in the end, it's just an adventure you try to complete with your partner and just enjoy with your partner as well.
Yeah,
Is it
yeah,
hard
definitely.
to come? Sorry, is it hard to come up with puzzles for two players because it's such a unique kind of game? It's not like okay, here you have puzzle, fix it by yourself. You really have to cooperate. Is it hard to come up with puzzles for that?
Well, it is a unique challenge, yeah. Um, Usually, like I said in the beginning, right, for the inspiration for puzzles, oftentimes the inspiration is a type of interaction or communication we want to have. You know, like we want one to be the navigator and the other one to be the explorer, and what kind of what do you talk about when you have those roles, right? You put people in different roles. Um, So in those cases, often we start with what we want you to say and how we want you to talk and what we want you to talk about, and then the design of the puzzle follows that. Other times we do it the other way around, which is definitely hard, right? Because you have all these standard puzzle type, more well-known puzzle types, right? Sokubans, Sudokus, that sort of the classical puzzles. Um, and you can often make them multiplayer or co-op, but then you have to split them up in a smart way, right? You have the whole package of information, and somehow you have to create a barrier in between.
Yeah.
Um, that I don't know what you're seeing and you can't do what I can do, for example, or we both have the same information, but it's we don't know that we both have the same information and it's in different forms, for example, and we have to combine it. That is definitely an interesting process. And sometimes we go way too far and nobody figures out what they're supposed to do anymore. But it's
That's
that's
often
what the
me.
testing is for.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
often me just yelling like, I don't know what to do. I don't know, help
yeah,
me.
yeah. I heard that.
I know, I'm sorry. So in this
Mm.
entire process, because it sounds like a lot, there's so many different ways to go about it. What is your favorite aspect in this process?
Um, I really like seeing when players outside the team start playing the puzzles and playing the levels and experiences that we put together. Um, because sometimes it just takes an entirely different direction than what you thought it would go. And everyone in the team, for example, that tested it knew too much. So they experienced it the way that you designed them to. And then people in the community do something completely different, or they start purposely killing each other instead of rescuing each other. And that's more fun than the actual puzzle, for example. Um, so it's definitely sort of releasing your baby into the wild and seeing what people do with it, or what the baby does in this case. That's really fun to see.
I reckon that's interesting to see indeed how players go about it as well. And so We Were Here started out as a PC game, but now you can find us on Xbox, and soon, very soon, we promise, you can find us on PlayStation as well. Is there a difference in PC gamers or console gamers, or even how you design puzzles? Do you really have to take that in mind, or how do you go about that?
um yeah, I'd say there are differences, but a lot of them lie in what people expect out of a game, right, and how they interact with it. So the difficulty of the puzzles is not usually the problem, or there's not a significant difference, we think. Um, but I mean, there's a big difference between sitting behind your computer and, right, sitting up and having a mouse and a keyboard, and just sort of the other extreme where you're just sort of half asleep on the couch, just sort of playing a game with your buddy. Um, and both ways have to work well, right? Something that demands complete attention fits well for a PC player, but for a console player might not be ideal. There's Don't get me wrong. There's plenty of people who are very fanatic on
Yeah, we
consoles,
don't
but
want to
you
start the
also have
PC
this.
Master Race discussion.
Yeah, no, I'm staying far away from that one. Um, but that's a big difference, and the controls is a big one. We try to design things that even early on you keep in mind how people are gonna control it, right? The puzzle itself has to be fun, and it starts out as paper or as drawings or as something in the game maker or something. But as soon as we start actually putting it in the We Were Here engine, then we have to think about, okay, so you're pushing a block here. How do you do that? Is that holding forward? Do you tap a button on your keyboard? What button would it be on a controller? That sort of thing. Um, and there's unique things that either of them can do, and you try to combine them well to the best of our ability, I guess.
Okay. We try. So there
Yeah,
is a difference, but
it's
not
hard.
really. It
Mm.
is. It's very hard to keep everyone happy in that regard.
I bet there's someone playing the game with a steering wheel, and we probably could do something very cool with that. But you know, we do what we can.
Please let us know indeed if you're there with your steering wheel. That would be amazing though. If you can't finish, we were here with the steering wheel. I mean, props for
I'd
you.
like to see it. Yeah.
Definitely. And as this podcast is nearing its end, um, and before I let you go, and I feel like I need to ask this for the community. Can you share any secrets about the puzzles of We Were Here, or maybe Easter eggs or anything? Give us hints, please.
Oh, hints. Well, I'm not giving you hints
Oh,
because
is it a
that's
spoiler?
that's that's cheating, right?
That
that's
is true.
that's the point of the
Yes,
game.
true.
But I
But we're
can.
here for the spoilers. We're here for the secrets. We want to know more.
Oh
Tell
yeah,
us.
yeah. Well, like I said earlier, people tend to do different things than we expected. And one of them we found early in We Were Here, the first game. There's the chandelier, right, in one of the first rooms that you can lower with a lever, and then that lights something up. Of course, players immediately start jumping on top of the chandelier because why not, right? That's what you do
True.
in real life. And we found that, and we thought, like, hey, let's not encourage them to do it, but reward the ones that have done it. So there is, I bet a lot of people have found this already, but there is a text visible if you jump on the chandelier and you go all the way up. There's a very bad translation of a Dutch proverb. A cat in the narrow makes strange jumps. Or yeah, een kat in het nauw maakt gekke sprongen in our beautiful
Definitely.
language.
Yes.
Which, well, it relates to that someone under pressure might do weird things or do unexpected things, which is exactly what you've done if you've jumped on top of the lighting. So, yeah.
There you
Try to
go.
find it.
Definitely, yeah. Everyone's now going to start up We Were Here again, just suddenly jumping on everything, seeing if they read anything weird.
Probably, yeah.
There are secrets everywhere in Castle Rock. So I do want to thank you so much for being here because, well, this is the second podcast. It's new to us, but thank you so much because, like I said, there are so many questions. But for our listeners, if you have more questions about game design or anything really, just please send them to us, I don't know, via mail, but preferably either in the comments or just anywhere on social media. And Thijs, I want to thank you so much. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, and as always, listeners, thank you so much for your support, for your time, and join us again next time in this week's Mayhem for more lore, secrets, and just us talking about our lovely games. Okay, bye-bye, and see you next time.